Hi, guys. Welcome back. Today, we're going to visit with a YouTuber named Lauren Monique. Lauren feels like she's losing her skinny privilege card because people are treating her different since she's been gaining weight. I hope you enjoy her story.
Why is my self-worth, why is that measured by how I look? And I really hate that that's how I feel, especially, I'm at an age where I should have it all together. At least you think I should have it all together. And like, I shouldn't care what people think. But the real issue is that I don't care really what people think. I care about what I think. And I just don't like that. I feel like I have to be skinny in order to be happy. But it also got me to think about, like, let's be real here. And I don't like to talk about race at all. But I'm a Black woman. I'm a Black woman in Atlanta. And I just know that I cannot be overweight here. Like, I just feel like there's a such thing as like skinny privilege. And not even in Atlanta. I just feel like, and not even like depends on like your race or anything, but I do feel like there's a thing that's like skinny privilege. When I think about how I was treated, like I feel like I'm treated so differently. Now that I've gained all this weight, like I feel like I'm just invisible. Whereas people were so much nicer when I was like 50 pounds lighter. Like, I think I might have said this to one of my friends in like a joking way, but like, I'm so serious about this, what I'm about to say. My life was so much easier when I was 50 pounds lighter. Yes, I was still dealing with depression and anxiety, but it wasn't as increased as it is now. I was living life. Now I barely want to like leave my apartment.
You know, sometimes that happens for people. Maybe you were the queen of the prom when you were in high school, right? Maybe you were the homecoming queen. And all of a sudden, you're 20, you're 25, you're 30, you're 35, you're no longer as young as you once were, right? And all of a sudden, you really feel like you have kind of lost your looks. You feel like you've gotten a couple more wrinkles, a couple of gray hairs. You've put on not only the freshman 15, but maybe the senior 30, right? And all of a sudden, you feel like a different person is staring back at you in the mirror. If you are dealing with some of these issues that Lauren's dealing with, regardless of your age, please let us know down in the comments.
Unless I'm taking my dog out or like running my errands, because I just don't like how I look. And I've just been letting these thoughts simmer for especially like these past 2 weeks since I saw my primary care doctor. And I'm just like, what do I do? And so I messaged her and I was just like trying to, I sent her a lengthy message and just, even though she told me to like take a pause with the weight loss medications, I just pretty much flat out said, I am in a deep depression. And that depression causes me to like eat poorly or like not even eat meals. Like I snack a lot when I'm depressed. So I've just been eating a lot of like junk food. And so I just like messaged her and she sent over a prescription for Zepbound. I wish I wasn't like this. I wish I didn't put all my self-worth into how I look. But I just know from like my experience and like just seeing things that there's a such thing as like skinny privilege, pretty privilege, all of that. And I'm not saying that depression will go away because 50 pounds lighter, I was still depressed. Not as depressed as I am now, but I don't know what to do. But like this has really become like an outlet for me as I'm trying to like overcome my depression, overcome my fear of being seen, overcome just how I'm feeling about myself. And maybe one day someone will come across my videos and they'll feel like they're not alone. So like that's why I give these kind of videos that I post a lot. But anyways,
Guys, because of editing, I can't necessarily show you all the video, right? But here's the thing that I want you to know that you missed. She is really young and she's already starting to go through some early stages of menopause. She's also dealing with some ovarian issues and therefore she might be dealing with some hormonal issues as well. Because her videos are so new, she doesn't have enough subscribers where they leave enough comments where I could share some of those. But I want to let you guys know that I'm gonna share her channel in our show description. I want you guys to go over to her channel, subscribe, watch some of the videos, and leave some comments so in the future we can progress and see where she's going, and we can also mention some of those comments.
I realized that I have to make a for real change. Like, my life is not going to change if I don't get serious about it. My doctor can prescribe me all the medications in the world, but if I am not willing to fight through like how I am feeling about myself, nothing will change. There's like nothing. And so to end this video, I am going to do what I can to fight through like my depressed feelings and how I'm feeling about myself, to go and become future me, because I feel like I have these deep desires in my heart that in the future, like not even the future, but just like I see myself being happy. I see myself looking the way I want to look and things like that. But I will never be able to become that person if I just allow myself to isolate and feel sorry for myself and just think about how life would be so much easier if I was skinny. But am I going to the gym? Am I eating properly? So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to create a habit of sticking to a gym schedule and just doing things. So I want to spend the rest of the summer just being that person, trying to be the best version of me. And I know this video was all over the place, but I need to make a change now.
Amen. You do need to make a change. And also, you've got a lot of things going for you. You know, ladies and gentlemen at home, sometimes as we get older, and sometimes even when we're still very much young, sometimes we have hormonal issues. So go to your doctor, have those conversations with him or her, because if you can get your hormones right, you might all of a sudden feel like a brand new you again. But until that moment happens, why don't you guys go get your shoes? Let's go for a walk. Hey guys, this is Jesse. Thank you for joining me on my walk. I just had a thought coming off that video that we just saw with Lauren Monique. Guys, wouldn't it be great if we were obsessed with people thinking that we were pretty on the inside? I want you to have the best walk of your life today. I can do this, you can do this, we can do this. Let's do this. Welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Good morning, Venters. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. Hopefully, like me, you're out walking. I don't know if you guys are drinking coffee or not, but if you're not coffee drinking, I bet your morning walk is probably your new favorite way to wake up. It's my favorite way to wake up. And even if you are a coffee drinker, you know, drink that cup of coffee and get out on your walk. Guys, I have a wonderful story that kind of got me tearing up this morning because, you know, I just love hearing wonderful stories, and I'm sure you guys do too. So Robin and Stephen Bridges live in the state of Florida, and they adopted a little boy by the name of Dalton. And Dalton, when he gets older, wants to be a doctor. But when Dalton was 7 and the Bridges came to adopt him, while he wanted to be adopted, very, very much so, there was a part of him that didn't want to be adopted because his older brother Dawson suffers from cerebral palsy. And he's nonverbal, but he is Dalton's older brother. And usually when people get adopted or kids get adopted, they don't necessarily get to stay with their family and their siblings. And all that Dalton had in this world was his older brother. And his older brother Dawson, because he's nonverbal, because he has cerebral palsy, you know, he still knows kind of what's going on, but he's just not able to be verbal about it, right? And so it was a situation where, yeah, Dalton wants to be adopted, but he didn't want to lose his brother. And so the Bridges got a chance to not only fall for Dalton, but they got a chance to meet Dalton's brother, Dawson. And for whatever reason, something touched their heart, and they decided to take on just the monster challenge of taking care of a child that has cerebral palsy so that they could keep Dalton and Dawson together. And Dalton, one of his early memories are that Dawson's doctors were just so awesome, and they had such a positive effect on his older brother that now Dalton wants to grow up and become a doctor. So, to Robin and Stephen Bridges, man, you guys are heroes. Could you imagine if your little Dalton, I don't know if his parents gave up him and his brother for an adoption when they were too young to know, right? But I don't know that. For all I know, Dalton and his brother could have been left off for adoption just last year. Sometimes people lose their kids to CPS. Sometimes they have drug issues. Sometimes, kids drop off or parents drop off their kids to, places because they can't take care of them anymore. So I don't really know the backstory, but I am gonna link their YouTube story to this video down below. And if you guys watch the video, it's only 1.5 minutes, but it's just such a beautiful video. Makes you kind of want to cry, makes you kind of want to tear up. And sometimes those are the best stories. So again, what beautiful act of kindness and beauty are you venters going to do for today? This motivates me, One of the things that I always try to do is I always try to be the kindest person that I can because, man, sometimes people are going through some tough things. But I feel like today is going to be an awesome day because it started with this awesome news. I just feel so good for Dalton and his brother to be able to be together. The gentleman that taught me how to golf, he was my boss. His name is Bruce. He suffered from cerebral palsy. So it's one of those things where I know for a fact people with cerebral palsy can go on to lead pretty productive lives. And the whole idea that the Bridges family kept these two brothers together so that they can grow up together. Gosh darn it, it doesn't get much more beautiful than that, So again, if you have a situation where maybe in your family, maybe one of your siblings, has an illness or an ailment, obviously they're still your sibling. Obviously you still love and care for them. Aren't you blessed to have them in your life, When I was younger, before I met Bruce, the guy that was my boss and ultimately taught me how to golf, and to this day can still beat me with one hand in golf. When I first met him, he was kind of my first close friend that had some sort of ailment. I don't know, some sort of disability. That's the best word for it, disability, right? And when I met him, I was younger. I was like 18 or 19 years old at the time. And I had a hard time eating in front of people with disabilities or different ailments, or maybe they had Down syndrome, whatever the situation was. I had a hard time eating in front of those people. And when I was younger, we lived in a world where sometimes we said cruel things and we didn't realize at the time how cruel they were. And one of the things that I would say to myself, never to another human being, but to myself, was just, I can't eat in front of people with disabilities and handicaps. For whatever reason, it was just really, really challenging for me. But I didn't see it as something horrible. I just saw it as in, hey, this is one of those things I can't do. But when I met Bruce, one of the first things that he did was he kind of took me out for a lunch, or we would have lunch together along with the other employees where we were working. And at first I had a challenging time because it was just hard for me to deal with somebody that, didn't have a body
that was free of challenge. I don't even like talking about these issues because they come across as you're not being sensitive or whatever. But believe me when I tell you, I care a lot for people with handicaps and disabilities because this man was introduced to me at a young age. I mean, 18 for me is young. And, after having multiple meals with them, I got over that hurdle of being able to eat in front of people that had various handicaps and disabilities. And I don't want to sound cruel when I say this, but for whatever reason, when I was young, I did have these troubles. It would kind of gross me out, as horrible as that sounds. And I'm not the most beautiful of people by any means, So when I say these things, I'm kind of embarrassed about these things. But after eating one meal with Bruce and then ultimately eating multiple meals through those early years of my late teens, early 20s, I got to eat not only with Bruce, but with other people who had handicaps and disabilities that began to slowly but surely work with us. And we had quite a few through the years. And those people that at one point in my life, I had trouble even being in the same room with for a while. And it wasn't necessarily because I was always grossed out. Sometimes it would make me feel sad, whatever the situation is. But I just always saw it as, and I don't want to be in the same room and eating with people that make me feel sad or make me feel grossed out or whatever the situation is. Again, very cruel thoughts, but it wasn't from a cruel point of view. It was just me being me. But after eating with these people and after befriending these people became me. Am I handicapped or disabled? No. But some of the most wonderful people that I've met in my life were and are. And just the idea that they could have a situation where maybe their parents weren't able to take care of them, or maybe they had a life that was like really, really challenging and tough. All of a sudden, instead of being something that I didn't want to be in the room to hear or to take part of, all of a sudden, not only did I want to be in the room, but I wanted to hear these stories because these people were no different than you and me. And whenever you meet anybody, whether it's somebody that has an ailment or somebody of a different religion or somebody of a different race or background, a lot of times you end up finding out that they're just like you. And that all people have their own challenges, whether they're disabled or not. And some people have situations and hurdles in their life that are so challenging. These aren't things that separate us and make us different. These are things that bind us, bond us, and make us the same. So again, when you're out and about and somebody cuts you off in traffic, or somebody does something that you just, makes you roll your eyes because you don't know where they're coming from, just know sometimes they can be out of sorts because they might be having a tough day. The Bridges family, they adopt Dalton and his older brother Dawson, right? I bet you there were not one, not two, but probably dozens upon dozens of really tough days where they probably said to themselves, we have bitten off so much more than we can chew. But instead of giving up with love and determination, they kept sticking one foot in front of the other and doing what they had to do what they had to do. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing. So you and me, maybe we are free of ailments like cerebral palsy. Maybe we're very much verbal. Maybe our kids are fine. Maybe we don't have any challenges like that in our life. But we do have one challenge. The challenge is we're aging. We're starting to get a little bit chunky. We're starting to have our doctor appointments, and the doctors are starting to tell us we need to get on statins. We need to get on blood pressure medicines. We need to get on this, that, and the other. And the problem is not the fact that we have to take these medicines, because if we have to take them, we have to take them. The problem is that we have our own Daltons and Dawsons. We have our own kids in our life. We have our own grandkids. And if you have a big enough family tree, you're probably going to have some grandkids that do have issues like Dawson and Dalton's, right? They might not be going up for adoption, but you might have some kids in your life that, maybe do have situations where they are physically or mentally disabled. But they're still part of your family. They're still your grandbabies, right? They're still you. And so when you walk because you want to be a part of them as much as they're a part of you for the rest of your life. I think it's a shame when we hear about people like Shannon Doherty that die at age 53, or my Uncle David that dies at age 53. Now, they both died of cancer, and no matter how much you walk, you might still very much have cancer, and you might still very much pass away from it, right? Walking is magical for me and you, but it's not necessarily magical for people that are suffering from cancer, right? But one of the things that we can do by us putting one foot in front of the other is we can learn to empathize with people. We can learn to catch ourselves and say, you know what, I'm acting like a Dale or I'm acting like a Karen towards people. And if you can change, if you can make that change within yourself, that I'm going to try to look past people's shortcomings and I'm going to try to be the best human being that I can be. It is not easy doing the right thing. And many times when you do the right thing, there is no reward from it or for it. Are you the type of person that needs to be rewarded and receive accolades every time you do something that's decent? Because if so, that's a shortcoming in you. We have to learn to do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. We have to learn to empathize with people. If you have a beautiful, wonderful life, you should be happy that you have a beautiful, wonderful life, but you should also know that the reason you are happy is because of how beautiful and wonderful your life is, and other people don't necessarily have that same scenario. And we don't want those people to be forgotten in life. One of the things that I have issue with, that I argue with, is the homeless situation. Before it was at my doorstep, I always loved the homeless. I was always the type to give them $1 when they needed 38 cents. Sometimes I would give them $5 or $10 if they were younger, right? And as they start to encircle your neighborhood, there's a piece of you that can all of a sudden become indifferent and cold. And I'm guilty of that. Warm, loving Jesse is sometimes guilty of shutting off his heart and being cold. And I don't like that. I want to always open my heart and be empathetic. So even though one day I might tell you very much I'm sick of this situation and these zombies and these drug addicts, that doesn't mean that I don't have a day where I wake up on the right side of the bed. And it doesn't mean that I don't realize that there are homeless people that aren't drug addicts. They really are down on their luck. They really were living in a home with a family just last week or last month. They really did lose their job. They really are at the bottom of the world. You're going to have moments in your life where you're on top of the world, where everything goes your way. It doesn't always happen, but you're going to have moments where it is. But rest assured, you're also going to have moments where you're on the bottom of your life, where you're on the bottom of the world, where you feel like the world and everything is so heavy and on your shoulders, And I hate to say it, but some of you guys are going through that right now. Some of you guys are going to lose your jobs. Some of you guys are going to go through divorce and separation. Some of us are going to go through additional tough times because the longer you live in this world, the longer or the easier it is for things to happen, right? You have 1 million friends at age 30. Guess what happens by the time you're age 50? A handful of those friends are no longer going to be here. They're going to die. They're going to get sick. They're going to get in car accidents. Things are going to happen. And there's going to be moments where you feel very, very sad and alone, even though today you might feel like you're on top of the world. So what we have to do is we have to remember when we are on top of the world, when we are in a position where we can do good things for people, we should. Because one day, they're going to probably have to do good things for us, right? One day, we're going to be on the bottom of the world. This world is not always about getting a house, raising a family with 2 or 3 kids, and just having a beautiful walk into the sunset. It's not always like that, right? Sometimes we end up having trouble after trouble after trouble. And so we walk. That's why I walk. Because there have been moments in my life where I have been on the bottom, where I've been so broke, where I've been so dejected, where I've been so down. And the thing that got me through it was the walk. The walk must go on. Some of us walk with heavy hearts. When you see people walking and they smile and they say good morning, it's real easy to assume that they're just out on a leisure walk. But the reality is, they could be dealing with some really, really tough things in their life. Now, I wish we as a species, right? I wish we as people could reach out to one another and help each other. But over the last 20 years or so, there's just been a huge disconnect. And so I walk. And so I walk. When you walk and dive into your think tank, you might be trying to figure out how to make your finances go a little further. You might be having a situation where one of your kids is maybe starting to distance themselves from the family. And sometimes all you can do is try to come up with a plan. Does every plan work? No, but it's my firm belief that if you don't have a plan, you're probably going to fail then at whatever you're trying to accomplish in life. So take your walk, come up with a plan, figure out when you're on top of the world how you can help people that aren't. And when you're on the bottom of the world, which there will be times where you are, sometimes you just got to kind of figure a way to survive and to get by. For some of us, that might be prayer. For some of us, that might be meditation. For some of us, that might be just reading a book. Whatever the situation is, go to that place, do what you got to do, think on what you have to think about, and move forward and on with your life. Is there anything positive we can take out of this, Jesse? Yeah, I think the whole thing is positive. A lot of times we run from sadness and grief in this life. But one thing I found is that you don't really get too far when you run. Sometimes you got to tackle things head on. A lot of us are fat because a lot of us have a lot of stuff on our mind. If you're a pack rat, if you're somebody that has a lot of clutter, which I've been known to do in my life, and so have a lot of my family members, one of the best things you can do is go through a lot of your stuff and just throw it all away. Because what I found is that when you get rid of the clutter in your physical life, it has a way of getting rid of that clutter in your mental life. You know, computers, they only have a certain bandwidth, right? They only have a certain amount of memory. If you're working on a computer that's, still running off Windows 7, right, and it's 8 or 9 or 10 years old, there's a good chance your computer is extremely slow, right? Well, that's kind of what happens to the human mind. You get to the point where you've got so many problems that you're dealing with that it's really hard to deal with problems, period. Every small problem that you would have been able to get over when you were younger and had more energy and had things going for you when you were on top of the world, it's a little bit more challenging when all of a sudden you get a little bit older and it's just one of your myriad of problems. When you have a boatload of problems and somebody throws another one on top, a lot of times you just feel like you're in a sinking ship. And guys, I don't want anybody out there that's a venter, or anyone period, to ever feel like they're on a sinking ship. So here's my challenge for you guys today. The next time that you're at work, go up to your coworker that maybe has cerebral palsy. Go up to your coworker that maybe only has one leg or one arm or some sort of disability, or even if they're totally able-bodied but they have some sort of challenge they're going through in their life. Maybe their son or daughter has just gone through a miscarriage, right, situation. Maybe their son and daughter has just lost their home or lost their job. Maybe they're going through a tough situation. Why don't you take that coworker out to lunch? You know? Why don't you try to be that little bit of hope that some people need? We just walked by my buddy Justin's house. A couple houses down. I'll show you guys tomorrow because I just passed right by his house without thinking to share it with you guys. But my buddy Justin is a tattoo artist. He still lives here in the Valley, and he's one of my Facebook friends. And he's a tattoo artist, and for all I know, he's very successful as a tattoo artist. I don't know, but I just know that he's constantly working, right? But yesterday I watched a video, and it was a girl talking about the tattoo index. It's just another indicator of the economy, right? And apparently tattoo artists around the country are going through a real shortage of customers. Apparently people are getting tattooed a little bit less than they were. So do I know if my buddy Justin's having troubles or not? No, I don't. He could be totally successful. But Justin, if you are having troubles with your business, if things are getting a little tight, I just want you to know that you're in my thoughts and my prayers. And brother, I hope you have a successful year. I hope you have a successful career, and I hope that you're successful until the day you no longer tattoo, you know? I think a lot of our friends and family are going to start going through some tough times, because every time I turn on YouTube or turn on the news, we're hearing about another sector of the country that's kind of going through layoffs and stuff. Some of us here as venters might be going through these very issues. You know, that's the tough thing about this world, is there's a lot of ups and downs, right? There's a lot of peaks and valleys, you know? And when we do good things for people, there's very rarely, if any times, ever a reward. Now look at what somebody did. Somebody has this older car here. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. They're trying to do the right thing and keep it, and, you know, maybe give it away to a friend or family member someday. And look how they're rewarded. The people of the neighborhood decided to take their spray paint and write the word Gooch on it and JBM. So that's the reward people get when they're trying to change their lives for the better. You know, you buy a used car, you're trying to maybe fix it up so your kids have something to drive, and you get rewarded by some yahoo with a can of paint, and then look it. For all I know, that yahoo came out here and popped their tire as well. Did the yahoo do that? Who knows? But my poor neighbors are going to wake up to find out that their tire's flat and that somebody painted on their car. And it's probably that same jerk that painted on the brand new fence the other day. So unfortunately, guys, the reason I want you to be a positive beacon of light unto people of this world is because there's so many people that want to spray paint darkness. There's so many people that, because maybe their life is tough and challenging, the only thing they do know how to do is to make other people feel as poorly as they feel. Because let's be honest, when you're spray painting people's property and when you're popping people's tires on their car, you're just hoping that somebody feels as miserable as you do. And I don't know why we as human beings are like this, but we are. So the reality is, even when you start to conquer your weight problems, because you are going to conquer them, in a couple of months, your problems are going to start to become under control, but you need to be aware that the way this world works is one problem is going to be replaced with another. And that's why we should be empathetic and sympathetic towards others. One day you are going to be in their shoes, whether you like it or not. And one day those successful people that sometimes we're jealous of, the Shannon Dohertys of life, sometimes they end up going through a lot more troubles and pain than we realize, simply because not everybody complains out loud. That's one of the things that I like to be in life. Even though I complain and vent to you guys, that's because it's part of my channel, right? But in reality, a lot of times I'm the quiet guy in the office that has a lot on his mind, but doesn't necessarily cry and whine about it. So again, when you're going through life, if you're having a beautiful year, if you're having a beautiful life, if you and your husband or you and your wife have just the absolute perfect scenario, just know that your best friend Katie and her husband Bill, they might not be in that scenario. You know, that's why I tell people, if you're thinking about splitting up your family, if you're thinking about getting a divorce, if you're thinking about ditching your job for something else, go take a walk, ponder it, think about your pros and the cons, try to use your imagination. Is the decision you make, is it going to make you happy? Sure. But is it going to make your family happy? Not necessarily. You know, when I was younger, I remember friends of mine, they would be my really good friends in first, second, third, fourth grade, and then their family would pick up and move. And I always thought it was so shitty. But as you get older, you realize, hey, sometimes people have job opportunities, sometimes people can't afford their home and they lose it to foreclosure, sometimes they're living with their folks and their folks kick them out, and sometimes people have to move. That's just the reality. So while I think it would be great if we could have our friends in grade school and grow up with them through high school and college, sometimes that's just not possible because people have issues and problems. And on the positive side, sometimes people get promotions and bumps in money, and sometimes they move out of a neighborhood to better themselves by moving into a better neighborhood. So sometimes there are good things to cheer and celebrate. I'm sorry if this video got you a little down, but I think one of the ways to pick ourselves up and feel better is to help our brothers and sisters that are down on their luck. So today, here's my Venter challenge for you. Buy somebody at work that you know is having a tough life. Buy them lunch. It'll come back to you. Have a beautiful day.